Good afternoon and welcome to today's lesson. Today we are going to look at the past tense and you and I are going to go through this together. So let's have a look at exactly what this entails. When we think of tenses, remember past meant it happened yesterday or the day before, or it could have been an hour ago or 10 minutes ago, or it's just past. The time words will help you, but if there are no time words, you'll have to be able to cope without them. So it could be things like, it could be an hour ago, it could be yesterday, it could be last week, it could be last year, 3 days ago, last summer, last year. So remember that your time words will assist you, but if there aren't any, you need to know which tense to use. We are going to look at the following. We're going to look at the simple past tense, the past progressive or past continuous tense. I prefer calling it the past continuous because continuous tells us that it's ongoing, and that is when we use ing. So the last one we're going to look at will be the past perfect tense. But let's have a look at this. Remember that in an exam, if you aren't asked which past tense to use, you will look at the sentence that you're given and you will then change that. Let's have a look what the simple past tense is about. This is the one we use most often to talk about the past. And it can refer us to a short, quickly finished event or action. For instance, you did things like, he opened the door and walked in. It can be something that's a longer action or situation. I lived with my grandparents until I was 12. Or repeated happenings. For example, I had a dog that I always took for walks. So that's all simple past tense. Now let's have a look here. We've got this boy, and the boy, we would say in present, the boy walks home, but this is past. It's indicating that the boy walked home earlier or yesterday, but this is an action that is finished. The boy walked home. Let's look at this exercise quickly. Remember, we're busy with the simple past tense. Now you see something like, he did go into the theater and he did find a seat. Now you think, oh, I don't know what to do. It's very simple. He went into the theater and he found a seat. We live in that house long ago. It's past tense, so we say we lived. You'll notice that with these exercises, they give you, and these aren't ellipsis dots because you'll see it's not just 3 dots. So it's a place to write in. And it's only one space, so you're only using one word here. When I was young, my mother always read to me. Now remember, with the word read, it's I read to my children, but in the past tense, I read to my children. Then she practiced her piano piece yesterday. Here we have a time word. You'll see that some of these have included time words for you. She practiced her piano piece yesterday. Long ago, my father rode to school on a horse. Note that not all of our past tense words will just take a ed at the end. So practice. Now, yeah, we can look at how it changed. The first sentence we used was, he did go, he went. So it's the verb to go. They might also write the he to go, meaning the verb to go, or the verb to find. So if you see something like the verb to be, then you know that is, am, and are. So they are different ways of writing this, but you need to know what it is that you can answer correctly. So had I said he, in brackets, to go, meaning the verb to go, the verb to go is I go, he goes, she goes, they go. But in past it's I went. Okay, so we're going to look at our past progressive or our past continuous. Let's use continuous. With the past continuous, it's the word we're going to use was, the verbs was, were plus ing. This is something that was already happening at a specific moment in the past. I noticed that a lot of our learners use this for all their past tense, and it's not always correct. Try and stick to the simple past. So yeah, we have the man was singing and the children were listening. But we could have said, if we were looking at simple, they listened to the teacher. Yesterday, they were listening to the teacher. That is then the continuous tense. So if you're asked to write in a specific tense, you just need to know the very simple rules that go with it. Continuous tense, you're going to add was, were plus ing. Then it also could talk about a temporary action or a temporary situation. It happened while I was walking to school. So this is something that's past, but this is when you're explaining something, or a description. You've heard it in all these films and stories about crime. What was she wearing? She was wearing a coat. He was wearing long denims, blue denims and a red shirt, something like that. Now, this is the important part. If you do not know your pronouns, you can't answer these questions, because you need to know that the man is he. And here we have our present tense verb to be and our past tense verb to be. So I would say I am. In the past it is I was. She is, she was. It is, it was. And then you, we, and they take were. Know your pronouns, or you might not get it right to use the correct form of the verb. So here are some exercises that we're going to look at. My mom, and you'll see there's space for two. My mom is she. She was cooking. So my mom was cooking. The cat, it was hunting. And then with you, what were you saying? You see, now we have a question word, or question sentence. So what happens now? They change places, but you are still using the same concept, the same continuous tense. I was listening. And again, that's referring to was. I was wondering. He was sneezing, but now remember a word like sneeze, the E falls away at the end and it just takes ing. So you can't just add ing all the time. Yes, yeah, we say we're using was, were, and adding ing, but you can't just add it indiscriminately. You have to use it correctly. So you have to spell correctly as well. Then the past perfect tense, had plus the past participle. This one's really easy to use because you must just remember had and think of using the past tense form of the verb. Things had already happened before the time we were talking about, and this is often used in our reported speech when we go to a later report back and it's already reported in past tense. Then what we do, we shift the past tense further into the back, a little bit further into the past, and that is when had comes to play, but we can use it in other ways as well. So it often expresses a complete action and often ends on ed, but there are always exceptions, so don't think, oh, it has to happen that way. I could tell by his limp that he had injured himself. Now let's look at a few examples. I explained to the teacher that I had lost my set workbook. The streets were familiar to me. The verb to be, remember? I had been there before. I had been there before. Then he won the race because he had trained, and it takes an ed. I wonder where I had left my glasses. Well, sorry, I wondered where I had left my glasses. Yesterday, I developed the photos that I had taken. So you must learn these so that you can use them correctly. Be very, very careful that you don't mix them up. Okay, so you have to remember, what about it? Practice makes perfect. If you do not practice these, you cannot do them successfully. So go and look at the simple past. Go and look at the continuous, the past continuous, and the past perfect. And make sure that you are also perfect in doing these sentences. Practice the language, use the language. That is the only way to do it. Have a wonderful day and thank you for joining me today. Bye-bye.